So we had a feisty weekend of football, both on and off the pitch. We had the incident at Old Trafford, which saw Mitrovic sent off for pushing referee Chris Foy. But where I wanted to start with, Ty, was Antonio Conte absolutely destroying his players, club, the chairman, the tea lady, everyone. His comments came after surrendering a two-goal lead at bottom of the league, Southampton, where he mentioned the club has a responsibility for the transfer market. It can't just be the coaches that you have employed, like Mourinho in the past, Pochettino. No one's had success in 20 years and they've never won anything. And he basically just went on at his players as well. Just want to know your thoughts on the comments themselves, and does he have a point?
Absolutely, he's got a point. I mean, if you watched, I was listening to him, and I just thought he's absolutely going to like rile up a lot of Tottenham hierarchy. But what he said was absolutely right. You can't. He's right. I mean, the biggest thing that came out of his press conference there was for me, players don't like playing under pressure or under stress, and he's right. Because ultimately, when you're playing for trophies, when you're going for league titles, when you're playing, playing at the business end, you've got something to play for.
Yeah.
That's when you feel the pressure. That's when you feel the stress. And even as fans, we've been there with Liverpool. You feel the pressure, you feel that stress when it gets to business. And it's big games. You've got to win them. Knockout competitions. It's almost feels like this. The phrase "very Spursy" is perfect for this team at the moment because whenever they've got a little bit of pressure on them, they just crumble, don't they? I mean, Southampton 3-1. You're thinking, oh, my nose against the bottom team. I mean, not the worst team, the bottom team in the table. Once it went 3-2, you just sensed it. We're going to go 3-1. Conte I think he's just sick and tired of it because it's happened a number of times this season, hasn't it? It's not just a one-off, and he must be thinking, I've tried everything else. I've tried to nail him in the change room. I've tried to speak to him nicely. I've tried to sort of mention it in press conferences in a sort of roundabout way. But he thought, fuck it, I'm just going to go all in here and I'm going to absolutely nail him publicly. And he went for the hierarchy. He went, and everything he said, you're listening to it. He's like absolutely right. There's nothing you can argue about because you've got serial winners there who unfortunately couldn't do anything with that team just because they were not shit. Just they didn't have that inner, what that I don't know the word I'm looking for is, but that inner oomph. You know what I mean? It's not great determination.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? It's just big teams have it, don't they? It's not
absolutely.
cojones. It's not balls. It's that other word. It's that winner's mentality. That's what it is. It's that winner's mentality, ability to play when the going gets tough. And they've not had it. And I think he's seen it. I think the biggest disappointment for him is because he's managed teams with players that have got that mentality, the toughness, the ruthlessness, the ability to stick in when the times aren't going well. This team doesn't have it. And I think that's what's really frustrating him. And he knows he needs better players, but he also knows the owner's not going to give him. But then the flip side of that is it looks like he's going in the summer anyway. He just wants to get sacked, doesn't he? So I don't know. There's a number of things, but I don't think you can accuse him of he's never been a manager to hold his words. He's always going to go in. He wears his heart on his sleeve. And as a fan, I'd love him. You know what I mean? I think he's a winner. He's a winner, and winners don't take it easy, do they?
Just listening to a few shows earlier today, there was questions of whether he was like deflecting what he's done, deflecting his time at the club. Now, obviously, that term Spursy, it must absolutely rile the Spurs fans up because, even me looking from the outside, and it seems like something you would just hate your club to be called. And now it's actually a term. You're calling other clubs Spurs. You're using that word, but there's been players coming in, there's been players going in, players going out, and Spurs have been Spursy for quite a while now with different players. Do you think it's just ingrained in the club, or is it more just aimed at the hierarchy of the club?
That is it. I think it comes to a point where it's embedded within the culture of the team, and it's hard to remove that. It's there's a big thing of like you learn how to win and you learn how to lose. Spurs have almost got they've done neither. They've just got comfortable in that middle bit where they'll do all right, they'll get close, and their Everest is essentially finishing in the top four. And it's never that they've been in title races where they should have. The Leicester season, they probably should have really won it, and they didn't. They've had Champions Leagues where they've just crumbled and they've not performed. They got knocked out by Milan. They never turned up. And they went through a phase of every time the first half, they were just really poor, and then they started playing second half. It's like there's no pressure now. In the first half, you've got to drive, you've got to get going. It's like, oh, we're going to go behind, or whatever happens now to bonus if we get some. And then the sort of shackles are off and you can play. Then it's not so much the ability. I think it's the culture and how it's ingrained within the club. And it's that mentality piece as well of do the players that they get in, have they done the right research on them? Are they the ones that are going to sort of, really drive and win? They don't, don't get me wrong, players like Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez and Longley and Ben Davies, and Oliver Skip, they're not players that you'd really bang your hat on, you know what I mean? Whereas if you've got a couple, you've got like Harry Kane, obviously, absolute, Hugo Lloris, whatever we think of him, he's a World Cup winner. You've got Højbjerg, who's got a bit about him. It's 3 or 4, it's not enough. You go through the other big clubs in the world, they've got like 7, 8, 9 of them players, and you need more of them. If you've got more players that are flaky and just crumble in the slightest bit of pressure, this is what you get. So yeah, I completely back Antonio Conte. What about yourself? I've not heard your views on this. What do you think?
Yeah, I just think it's not the done thing. I don't think I've ever heard a manager say anything like that, and I'm not sure what the players will be thinking, how they will respond to it. And I suppose it'll show the mark of the players. We've all been in dressing rooms. Some players respond really well to getting the bollock, and some respond well to an arm around the shoulder. But he's just went in one direction completely and utterly. Maybe he's done it the nice way. So
but do you not think that it's we always get the same press conferences from managers, don't we? And what do you think? Do you not think he's a bit? Do you not like that brutal honesty?
Oh no, I love the brutal honesty. I absolutely love it, and I love the the Jude Bellingham interviews. There's a number of Jack Grealish is another one. Yeah, I love to hear his interviews because it's just not the norm. But when I think about it being my club, if it was Jurgen Klopp coming out, you used to managers defending their clubs, defending their players, and they take it all on the chin. And he's like, nah, I'm not taking responsibility for this because Mourinho's had it, Pochettino's had it, and now you're not giving it to me. And I absolutely love it. But I'm just thinking on the side of what the players must be thinking. How they respond will be very interesting, and if he actually stays beyond the international break, which that leads me on to the last question that I have for you on this topic is, where does he actually go from here? Because Gary Neville tweeted earlier on today, keep him where he is, make him do his job. And then there are other fans that just want him out. What do you reckon is going to happen, and what do you think should happen?
I think he's odds on he's going back to Italy in the summer. There's already talk of him going to Inter Milan at the end of the year. So in the summer, Simone Inzaghi's there, but Inter have not really challenged that. Now Napoli absolutely pissed the league, but Inter have just they've faltered. They've not been great. They lost to Juve on the weekend as well. So so I can see him going back. Well, he'll be going back to Italy and managing one of the top clubs there. He's a serial winner. You can't judge a manager's career by their performances at Spurs.
I don't think so. You'd be wrote up. Yeah. So moving on to Sunday, the FA Cup. Was it a quarterfinal?
It was.
Yeah. Mitrovic got sent off at Old Trafford for his push on referee Chris Foy. And today, I don't know if you heard former referee Keith Hackett. He said that Mitrovic should be banned for 11 games. You watched it live. You were the one that actually told me about it, and I was thinking Di Canio over again. Now Di Canio, I think he got around. I think it was maybe 11 match ban himself. Now, just bear in mind that and the thoughts of Keith Hackett, 11 matches. Do you think that's a bit too much, or is it?
Keith Hackett's he just likes to be relevant. I always see his pop up. I'll come up with the last extra. It's not been an 11 match ban. It wasn't that bad, was it? It was more like it was an aggressive sort of. Here I am. Bruno Fernandes won against Liverpool in the linesman. That's not a million miles away from that. So you can't, if we're talking, if there was no charge on Bruno Fernandes, and then we're going to go suddenly to 11, who decides how much extra force dictates it? It just doesn't. It needs to sit right. So you've got to, that's got to be right. I think the Mitrovic one more. It's just you continue doing it, innit? He kept it. It was going right up to his face, and that's the part. That's the part for me. I don't mind obviously you mind it. I don't mind. I can get why someone in the heat of a moment, everyone can just do something, punch someone, anything like that. But it's a continuation going right into his own personal space, and he's having to back up. Because if he stood still, he'd end up
he goes
falling
into
back.
it.
And he goes, he falls down. And there's obviously players and managers trying to, coaching staff want to pull him away. But I just don't get what's going on in his head. But yes, going back to your point, 11 match. Nah, you can't go from nothing to 11 because it just doesn't sit right.
No, that's absolutely right, and you hit the nail on the head there. If like, there's a lot of referees that are arrogant, and you want them to pay attention to what you're saying, and if they're walking off and they're dismissing you, I don't know if is Mitrovic Fulham's captain.
I think
Maybe, I don't know, but it was
let
almost
us know
like,
in the comments.
he was almost like dismissive of him, and I was thinking, if he's captain, you kind of have a bit more of a leeway with the referee, like towards speaking to him, and it was kind of the referee was kind of dismissive of him, and that's no excuse whatsoever, but you can kind of understand.
I think it's a moment of it though, because they've obviously had a red card against him. There's a penalty,
and everything's going against you.
Yeah, he's got a red card to Willian. And then Mitrovic has just gone in there straight away. And the referee's thinking, what the fuck's going on here? And he suddenly pushed him and he's like, what have you done? And then he's smashed his red out, which is done right. He's done right. I'd have done the same. But it's continuing from there. But I think everything happened so quick for them. And the fact Marco Silva got sent off literally like 3 sendings off in like 60 seconds and then 2
that must be a record.
30 seconds. Everything was just mad. Yeah.
It's I wanted to go back to your point earlier about Fernandes. Now, if you think back to that incident on Liverpool game, if there is a precedent in that game, do you think that this happens?
No, because I think it's each situation is in a vacuum, in it, because you've got
judged on its own merit.
Yeah, they're completely different. Because you look at the Bruno Fernandes one, that is done. That's fine. And Mitrovic one happens, whatever, because it's the heat of the moment, it's the emotion of the game, it's the fact your team's done that. The Bruno Fernandes one, they're getting spanked, was it 5 or 6-0 at the time? So it's not.
Yeah, it was petulance,
it's a petulance more than sort of. Whereas Bruno Fernandes, if he goes up to a referee, Fernandes will probably fall off backwards. Whereas with Mitrovic, if he's going, there's only one winner there. Do you know what I mean? And if Mitrovic is angry at you, he's angry at you. Whereas with Fernandes, you can just sort of like swat away, can't you? There's just slightly bit of different characters and sizes and power coming your way.
Yeah. Well, there seems to be like quite a bit of an outcry for some kind of a ban on this. Like, Suarez got, I believe, 10 games for his bite, and now that was a bite. Now, if we're looking at precedent, you've got to be thinking that it's going to be somewhere in between. It's going to be maybe like a 5 or a 6 game ban. It can't be 11 because, I think there's 10 games left in Fulham's season. And I know that doesn't weigh into factors. But last question for me on this is, do you think there should be some kind of law maybe from the start of the next season, which does set a precedent that you cannot touch any kind of official, referee or anything?
You can't touch an official anyway. Touching an official...
Automatic ban.
As an official is a red card. It's the length of the ban. That's that. I don't know what the ban is. I think the automatic red's a three-match ban, and it's just them deciding if you put your hands on the referee, what is it, 10 games, and you don't. It needs to be big though. But you can't. The Fernandes one, whether he's just slightly touched him or not, he has put his hand on the official. So you've got this. That has happened 2 weeks ago. And Fulham's defence will always be that. So whatever happens, and the FA are going to ban him with 5-6 games, whatever, they'd be like, well, no, because you didn't do him for 5 or 6 games. What's the difference between that and that? So it's got to be, there's got to be transparency, and there's got to be fairness as well. So it's just getting that, making sure it's fair.
Brilliant. Yeah. So at this point of the podcast, we always have our question of the day, and I'm saying this as slow as possible just to give Ty enough chance to think of a question. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ty. So question of the day for us, it will be on the Mitrovic situation. So it's not actually the Mitrovic thing, it's the Marco Silva one. He got sent off for encroaching into the bit where the referee, the VAR area, where he looks at the TV screen and decides what he's going to do. So he's got sent off there. I thought that was really harsh. I thought it should have been a yellow card. So the question of the day, it's a really simple one. So we've got, should a manager be sent off if he encroaches into the VAR area? Shouldn't the yellow be more of a... Because I think that, if we go back, what escalated it all? So you've gone a red for the manager, the referees then come out, red for Willian, and Mitrovic has just lost his shit. You know what I mean? So it's like the cycle of things. If the first thing doesn't happen, if that's just a yellow, he'll go away. there's a red card, and then maybe the manager can, because the manager can't go to Mitrovic and say calm down now because he's just been sent off. They're both having a chat in there.
Yeah,
In the changing room with both. So yeah, so should that be looked at? I mean, obviously the obvious one is Mitrovic. What's the right ban? But I think that's probably more in this particular situation. Is that probably is as important, if not more.
Yeah. So put your comments down below. As always, we'd like you to like, maybe shut us a comment, and obviously subscribe and press the bell for notifications of when we post live. So with that being said, you got anything else that you want to add to this, Ty, or do you think you were about exhausted from all that feistiness?
I'm exhausted from. I feel like Mitrovic. I've just been in a fight. I've tried to be as fair as I possibly can, but just to get, make it right. Make it. I mean, he's obviously don't touch an official, but make it right and fair.
Spot on. Brilliant. Like, comment, subscribe. See you later, guys.
See you guys. Bye.